Welcome to The Explainer. You know that feeling, right? You get a big raise, you're making more money than ever, but somehow you feel just as broke, maybe even more stressed. Today we're going to break down exactly why that happens, why earning more rarely feels like having more, and how your lifestyle upgrades might be quietly stealing your life.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. He earns dramatically more, and yet the hamster wheel spins faster than ever. Sound familiar? It's this trap that so many of us fall into. And a lot of the time, we don't even see it happening.
Which brings us to what we're calling the promotion paradox. And there's no better way to explain it than with the story of a guy named Derek. Derek's a software architect, and he got the promotion he'd been grinding for years. You know, the kind of raise that's supposed to change everything. But for him, it didn't. In fact, he ended up more stressed about money than he was before the big pay bump.
Okay, so look at these numbers, because this is where it gets crazy. 3 years ago, he's at 92 grand. Then, boom, a promotion jacks him up to 128,000. Today, he's at 141K. That's a 53% jump in income in just 3 years. And yet, and this is the wild part, he has less in savings today than he did 3 years ago. I mean, how is that even possible?
So where did all that money go? This is key. Derek didn't have what you'd call a spending problem. He didn't go buy a Lamborghini or a bunch of Rolexes. No, he had an upgrading problem. See, each little upgrade seemed totally reasonable on its own. A nicer apartment for an extra $800 a month? Sure. A new car payment? A fancier gym? Better restaurants? All of these little things felt like rewards he'd earned. But when you add them all up, they didn't just eat his entire raise. They ate more than that.
So, what is actually going on here? Well, this gets us to the absolute core of this whole thing, what we're calling the hidden hourly rate. See, it all comes down to a simple calculation that almost nobody ever does. It's about translating those dollars and cents into the one currency that you can never get more of, the hours of your life.
So here it is, the lifestyle inflation hourly rate. This is just a measure of how many hours of your life you're trading away to maintain lifestyle upgrades that, let's be honest, you probably don't even notice anymore. It's not about the money, it's about the time. It's the hours you have to work just to stand still at your new, more expensive normal.
All right, let's put this into practice. We'll start with just one of Derek's upgrades, that new apartment. It was an extra $800 a month. On his new salary, that felt totally manageable, right? Just a small piece of his big raise.
But let's zoom out to the full year. That one decision? That's $9,600 a year. Poof, gone. That's more than a quarter of his entire $36,000 raise just for a slightly nicer apartment. But even that number doesn't tell the real story.
Okay, this is the real cost. When you actually calculate his after-tax hourly wage, Derek is working 228 hours every single year just for that apartment. Think about that. That is almost 6 full work weeks of his life. Not to get ahead, not to build wealth, but just to pay for a nicer place to sleep.
And it gets worse. When you add up all his little upgrades, the apartment, the car, the gym, everything, it comes out to 486 hours a year. That is literally 3 extra months of work. Every year, he's working January, February, and March just to pay for the new, more expensive lifestyle that he's sort of just drifted into.
So, that brings us to the really big picture, what we're calling a multi-million-dollar leak. Let's zoom out from Derek's situation and see how this hidden cost grows and compounds over a whole career. Because I'm going to warn you, when you see these numbers, it's genuinely disturbing. So let's imagine two people, right? Two paths over a 40-year career. On the left, you have the uninflated path. This person keeps their lifestyle the same, and every time they get a raise, they invest it. On the right, you have the inflated path. This person does what most of us do. They spend about half of every raise on upgrades. And look at that savings rate on the right. It just stays flat, even though their income triples over their career.
And the final bill? The difference between these two paths over a career is a staggering $2.9 million. Let that sink in. Nearly $3 million of lost wealth. This isn't about skipping a few lattes. This is a multi-million-dollar leak caused by those same small I deserve this upgrades year after year.
Which leads to the obvious question, why do we do this? Why are we all on what you could call the upgrade treadmill? Well, there's a really powerful psychological reason, and that explains why these upgrades feel so good at first, but end up feeling so empty. It's this thing called hedonic adaptation. Fancy term, but you can just call it the hedonic treadmill. Basically, it means we get used to stuff really, really fast.
It's the reason why studies show that even lottery winners aren't permanently happier a year later. Their brain just adapts, and that amazing mansion becomes their new boring normal.
Because the pleasure, it's always temporary. That initial rush Derek got from his new apartment or his new car, it was totally real, but it fades. After a couple of months, it's just the apartment. It's just the car. The excitement is gone.
But the cost? Well, the cost is permanent. That monthly payment, and more importantly, those hours of his life he has to trade for it, they don't go away. They're still there long after the new car smell is gone. So his life got way more expensive, but it didn't really get any better.
But here's the good news, and there is good news. Once you actually see the treadmill you're on, you can choose to get off. So this last part is all about that, reclaiming your life hours. It's about how to break this cycle and consciously, intentionally, buy back your own time and your own freedom.
And here's a simple 4-step plan to do it. Step 1 is just awareness. You have to actually calculate your own lifestyle inflation hourly rate. Step 2, reverse the calculation. Start asking yourself, is this new gadget worth 10 hours of my life? Step 3 is selective downgrading. You can actually reclaim hours by cutting back on the stuff that doesn't make you happy anymore. And step 4, probably the most powerful one, create a gap. Intentionally invest your raises instead of spending.
And that's the real power of step 2, right? Asking the question in a totally new way. It's not, can I afford $800 a month? It's, am I willing to work for 6 full weeks every single year just to have a slightly nicer apartment? When you frame it as a direct trade of your life for a thing, the choice becomes so much clearer.
And that right there, that's the core mindset shift. You are not earning your lifestyle, you are trading your life for it. It completely reframes that relationship between your job and your stuff. You stop seeing your salary as money to buy things, and you start seeing your time as the real currency you're spending. And really, that's the question we want to leave you with. You're trading your life for your lifestyle. The only question is the exchange rate worth it? Once you actually calculate your own rate, you're not making these choices blindly anymore. You can look at the true cost, the hours of your one and only life, and decide for yourself if the trade is worth it.